Hello, everybody. This is Brother Ash, your co-host of the Watchworthy podcast.
And I'm Miss Chris D.
And today we have a really dope episode for y'all. We're going to be discussing basketball legend Bill Russell and his new documentary titled Bill Russell Legend 2023, and it aired on Netflix. So
yes.
Make sure y'all go check it out. Borrow your mom's Netflix or whoever you got to do. All right, not whoever you got to do. Whatever
Listen,
you got to do.
people be doing anything for a Netflix password now.
Look, get the password, check the documentary out. You're not going to regret it. All right. So this documentary has interviews with people like Steph Curry, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, basically a lot of legends, younger, basketball players like Jason Tatum, Jalen Rose was on it as well, and journalists William C. Roden, Nelson George, and Bob Ryan of the Boston Globe did a great job with this as well. So the doc featured voiceover readings of Russell's memoir, lots of great old black and white photos from the 60s, a lot of the stuff fans never seen before.
Yeah.
I love a good, 60s, 70s kind of documentary.
I love how the black folks always had the suits and dresses on back then.
Man. I just love how we looked in those time periods and just seeing representation. Because, you don't get to see a lot of, it's good to see those photos are being kept through the, all the time.
Well, they probably didn't take a lot of pictures back then. They probably didn't get a chance to take a lot of pictures.
I was just saying, we take all these pictures now, but we don't, make them, we don't print them out, we don't hang them up like they used to. So a lot of videos and audio, and the guy that did the voiceover did a great job. It just was a really emotional documentary if you're a Bill Russell fan.
It almost brought me to tears. The music. Towards the end of the documentary, they had this beautiful music score, and it was like uplifting, and I was like, dang, I'm about to cry.
So God don't miss Chris D for the tears in documentaries and
I will
films.
cry at the drop of a hat. So
So this documentary, while we chose the doc, we wanted to learn more about the basketball legend, Bill Russell. Honestly, I am a basketball fan.
I like basketball probably more than football.
I'm the reverse. My favorite sport is football. But I always watch basketball consistently when the playoffs come around.
Yeah.
And you can't watch the playoffs without knowing who the Celtics are.
Yeah, I think everybody tunes into the finals. It's always Celtics versus Lakers.
And then you almost can't talk to a Celtics fan without talking about Bill Russell.
Right.
So I actually forgot to put my hat on for this, but I had a Lakers hat. We just go ahead
we'll show it to y'all. Yeah,
we're going to put the first red flag on Bill Russell right now. The fact that he was a great Celtic. I'm a Lakers fan, so red flag number one with all due respect. Let's go Lake Show.
But yeah, I wanted to see this documentary because I know that he had just passed in 2022.
Yeah.
And then the documentary came out shortly after. So I just wanted to learn more about him. I know that, honestly, last year when he passed, some people were controversial. Some people were like, oh, he was great for civil rights and NBA. But then some people with the whole Me Too movement, they had things to say about him. So
hey.
Either way, this documentary showed me a great man, and we're going to get into it, right?
We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that we touched on, but while you guys watch, we will have a poll question, so things to look out for when we're talking about these things to help answer this question is, if you were Bill Russell, at what point would you retire?
Yeah, he had a long career. It was like 13 seasons with the Celtics.
It had to be longer than 13.
So we'll get into it. So that's what I want to know. Like, at what point would y'all retire? Like, he was a legend. He was at the top of his game. I would have, some people, enough money will make you just stop right there. But
I'll tell y'all, we're going to get into it later.
We'll get into it.
What my point is. But I got a point specifically.
Okay.
Where I would have retired.
Well, I'm going to get us started and tell y'all a little bit about Bill Russell's early life that we learned from this documentary. So, and Bill Russell himself was in it, but I think it was video from like 2018 or something. So it wasn't like they had gotten recent video with him, I don't think. But his early life, he was born February 12th, 1934 in Jim Crow, Monroe, Louisiana. Like, just paint that picture for you. To paint a picture, his father was one generation removed from slavery.
Damn.
That means like his grandpappy was a slave.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Just think about that. He was born in 1934, Louisiana. There was lynching, there was segregation. And so Russell's family migrated to California when he was 9 years old, and he grew up in Oakland, California, which we know turned out to be a big hub for Black Panther Party and everything. But he said that when he first moved to California, he felt like an immigrant. He felt like he was immigrating to a different country almost because it was that much of a culture shock for him. Like, he finally had access to a library. Yeah. That was a big deal to him. Like,
that was a point where the richness of America wasn't reaching every place, and it still don't.
Yeah.
But it was like crazy.
But in 1930s Louisiana, he definitely didn't have access to a library.
You either got money or you dirt poor. Like,
So, and they still didn't want you to learn how to read at that time. Like, it was crazy. So when he moved to California, it was a big culture shock for him. And then tragedy struck when his mother passed when he was just 12 years old. So that really led to him becoming an introvert. He had low self-esteem, low confidence. And it's always so interesting to me how these people who, become stars at first, if you look back at their early life, they were actually like insecure or not great players. Like, he went on to be a legend, but back then he was definitely not wowing anybody with his basketball skills. He was much more of an introvert. And so he actually studied a lot in the library and trained himself to have a photographic memory, which will come in handy later. But he was like one of those people, he said he wanted to like memorize the, Michelangelo paintings and draw them. Like, he was that good. So that was cool to learn. And so in school, Russell got cut from the JV team. This is what I'm telling you, like, he wasn't good. He wasn't that great. He got cut from the JV team, and so it just took one man. I love how in most of these documentaries, it's always like, that one person believed in me and gave me a chance. And that's really how we grow today, is people, each one teach one. And so George Powell, he saw something in Bill Russell, and he invested $1 for Russell to train at the boys club over the summer. So this is like the 50s at this point. So it costs $1 to train, like, at the gym. How much the courts cost nowadays?
Bro, you probably can't even go inside the gym and wipe something down for $1 these days. They probably charge you for that.
So, that summer of training really helped him move on to varsity. And he later went on to attend the University of San Francisco, not because he loved San Francisco, but because it's the only place that gave him a scholarship. And that was just a blessing. That was just a blessing right there, like in the 50s, to get a basketball scholarship as a black man. So, his on-court mastery that we know him for today, it would really evolve from him, like, studying math in college and, like, just learning, like I said, that photographic memory plus his math skills, like
geometry,
right? That actually helped him on the court later in life. And so college again was a huge culture shock. There was only 5 black people on campus, not in his class, on his campus. 5 black people.
It's crazy.
And luckily, you know how we do, we buddy up. He got a friend, he got a roommate, Casey Jones, and so him and Casey were like this. In the summer, Russell was like, you know what? Why not run track? He said, quote, he wanted to get that button-down sweater. That's what he was after, that little varsity sweater at University of San Fran. So he said, why not do track? He, had the freedom to run and become a high jumping pro. They even said even the way he did high jump was weird. He like kind of got into a fetal position and
he went straight over the motherfucking jump. I don't know if y'all ever seen a high jump, but it's like technique. Like
he had no technique. He was
almost like
run
a fish
and
jumping
jump
out of water when you see a high jumper in the Olympics.
Yeah,
he just like.
No, he was he had a weird way of doing that as well, but it clearly worked. And so he was even a track star. It's amazing. Like he was 6'10", by the way, folks. So he was able to do high jump at 6'10".
Born to high jump.
Yeah. So, while at University of San Francisco, this is really where he has his moment. He won the NCAA basketball championships in 1955 and 1956. So he's on a roll. And then he joined the 1956 USA Olympic basketball team, where they did end up winning gold that year. So that just is like the peak of an athlete's career, right? Like the Olympics, like where are you gonna go from there? Like that's the highest you could go for real. And as a black person, oh my God, I just keep bringing up race in this because it was very prevalent throughout the whole documentary. Like he was a figure in the civil rights movement. So we'll get into that. But this is still his early life, y'all. He doesn't even know who he's about to become yet. He's 20 something years old.
Like early 20.
Yeah,
like maybe
early 20. Like just turned 20. Just started growing facial hair. And so he said, for that one brief moment at the Olympics, you're the best on the planet. And from there, I'm going to leave it on the high note. I'm going to pass it to Josh to talk about his early career.
which is crazy. As much of an athlete as he was, and as accomplished as he was as an athlete, you only feel like that as an Olympian. That's wild to me. Completely different now. So Chuck Cooper was the first black player to be drafted into the NBA by a Celtics coach. So Bill Russell was not the first. Red Auerbach at the time, Celtics, famous, legendary head coach. They were known at the time for their great offense, not really having a great defense. Things were about to change in a crazy way.
Yeah.
Boom, they draft Bill Russell. And Russell had never been to Boston before until the day he arrived in
That's
Boston.
a red flag for me. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to put a red flag.
Go ahead.
I'm not taking a job and moving to another city, literally across the country, because you're going from California to Boston without ever visiting. You might want to check it out. Like, where you gonna eat, where you gonna sleep. Like, you might want to look into it. I'm just saying.
Kind of had to, like, and y'all got to remember, like, I'm not gonna stress this enough. This is before social media. You've never seen Boston before.
You've literally never. You may have seen a picture. You just gotta,
one, hope that you
map.
like it, and two, hope that the racism isn't that bad there. Hopefully the racism is bearable there, right?
And I think at this point, the NBA was still as big of a deal as it is today. Like, to play professional basketball, like...
So this is like a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, you kind of got to take the job.
Wait until we start talking about these contracts later. Y'all gonna have some laughs. So another rude awakening, if he thought this was not going to be as racist. So he was only married to his wife for like 2 weeks before he got drafted. Shout out to the way old heads did it. Again,
red flag, because if my man's...
She's on the roll with the red flags today, y'all.
Because... If my man's just takes a job and I just gotta follow him, like, these days, I know people do it these days, but I would like a little talk about it. 2 weeks is crazy, but it's the 50s.
Well, so I don't know how long they were dating.
They probably got married when they were like 17.
But so they had only been married for 2 weeks when he got drafted. I don't know how long they was dating before that, how well they knew each other. But like I said, he was just 22 years old, trying to grow a beard, which his team couldn't stand. So they actually told him that they needed to shave it. They didn't feel... It was a small goatee.
Another red flag for me. I'm sorry. But again, you're joining a team. They're telling you to shave. The first thing they do is like, shave your facial hair? Like... That to me is what they doing today, like telling the little boys on the wrestling team, you gotta shave your locks.
But like, this is how much they're not doing it today, though, because they're doing shit like this today, but it's because we had Bill Russell's. Listen to the counter to this. So he basically said, I'll shave my beard when we're champions. And this is what I love about Bill Russell. Bill Russell act like he grew up without racism. Like, he didn't take shit from a lot of people. I'm talking, and I don't want to spoil nothing ahead, but like, when you hear some of the stories in this documentary, you know how bold you have to be in this position, to be a pioneer in your field, to be young, to be black, to be only seen as an athlete.
So much pressure.
And you get challenged, you get tried, as we say, every waking moment of your career.
They would have been trying me.
And every time they tried Bill Russell, he showed them why you shouldn't try Bill Russell. Yeah. So that was the first, third red flag for her.
I'm a chill.
No, she not. She got more. I know she got more. So getting back to his career, the NBA had racist fans and players, and as the only black person on the team, like, Bill really wasn't feeling it. He felt like early it wasn't really where he wanted to belong, you know what I'm saying? Or where he wanted to be. It didn't feel like
right.
home,
when you start a job and you like, you know what?
Should I really have took this job?
I'm going to leave in 3 months.
So, like, the whole city of Boston was racist. Russell's family was the first black family in town. So he had to get himself a gun permit.
First in town.
Plenty of scary stories that his daughter actually was on the documentary as well. And she talked about how it was being the only black town and how spooked she was at time when her dad was traveling. Yeah. So he said and quoted this, I played for the Celtics. I didn't play for Boston.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Like, even now we hear players being activists, and it's because, Bill Russell was that guy. He said, yo, I don't play for this city that doesn't welcome my family. Are you crazy? Yeah. I play for the Celtics. The Celtics respect me. Yeah. So...
Well, that's kind of hard because it's like separating the job from the city. How can you,
At the end of the day, you boil it down to a man providing for his family, though. You know what I'm saying?
He truly did just see it as a job.
That's what it was. Like, you didn't have the luxury penthouse apartment as a rookie in the league. Now he had a regular house in the community with everybody else.
Yeah.
So even as Russell became a celebrity, white people still wouldn't let this, let him be in hotels, restaurants, whatever. So they're on the road traveling. He's,
that's crazy. Imagine if LeBron James was like, "I'd like to stay in your hotel, please," and they're like, "Nah, we don't let blacks in."
Yeah, y'all gotta stay at the one across the street.
And it's dusty and dirty and sleep in your car.
Sleep in the basement. We'll throw y'all some beanbags filled with shit.
Imagine if they said that to our stars today. LeBron James, Steph Curry.
So, he's just a black kid, like, thrown into stardom. And this is, like, the same time, like, in 55 was when Emmett Till and Rosa Parks.
Dude.
That whole situation. So, like, this is during his college basketball career into the, NBA. And like a fun fact about Russell is that he said like he always got nervous and like threw up before every ball game. Like, and this, I would just imagine like being like on the court with these people that are hating you and all of these things going on around you in the world.
Imagine trying to play for white people when Emmett Till and Rosa Parks are out there at the same time. Like,
yeah, and he remembers that trial and everything happening. And, he's like seen as a basketball player.
Yeah.
But off the court, you're seen as maybe even more intimidating as Emmett Till. He was 6'10".
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no telling what type of criticisms and rhetoric he heard just walking around the streets of Boston. Like, so. But him and the guys, like him and the team that he played with, they had great chemistry. Obviously, you want to get along with the dude that is probably the greatest basketball player you ever seen.
Yeah.
So that was easy for them to get along with him. So the Celtics versus Lakers rivalry goes back to like this point in the 50s when, those two teams were always going at each other's necks. Bill Russell was the leader of those teams.
I didn't realize that, like, where it all started from. And I found out it was because Bill Russell joined the Celtics and they got good.
yeah, and I also just want to like give a like kind of like a shout out to his coach Red Auerbach because like he Bill Russell wasn't the only black guy in that draft.
He actually drafted his roommate KC I mentioned earlier, so he got to play with his college roommate again.
So as they're playing against these other teams in the NBA early in his career, going through all this racism, they're like, wait, y'all got one playing on the court and like another one. Now two. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, but he started something clearly. Look at the NBA now. Shit. So, this is like way back when they were still playing in Converses and Chuck Taylors. So I'm gonna let
that part was hilarious to me. I was like, babe, they're literally still playing in Converse Chuck Taylors at this point. They're not even wearing the Nike deals, and
that's why LeBron could play for 20 years.
That's wild to me.
Because them Jordans and LeBrons got a little bit more ankle support.
Yeah. So Bill Russell's career ended up. Was in 2022. This is a sidebar. Was Bill Russell the guy that everybody made a big deal like LeBron was about to pass his?
No, that was Wilt.
Oh, okay.
But that was Bill Russell's rival.
Okay.
And Wilt was much more of a scorer, so that's why that title was.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, Bill Russell ended up playing for the Celtics for 13 years. Guys, I just want to give you a little dates from 1956 to 1969. So, really the heat of the 60s. All right. So, we're still in his career right now. At this point, NBA fans, everybody, the press, still all white, still have their bias, still white audiences, putting all eyes on this young black man. So then it wasn't really until Wilt Chamberlain just came on the scene that we just mentioned until, now there's basically the clash of the two NBA giants they saw. It was literally like Bill versus Wilt. And so this really stirred up some drama. And I love how the press still do that today. It's like, oh, there's two black women in hip hop, let's put them against each other. Yeah. There's two black stars, let's put them against each other. And it's like, they really actually liked each other. They really didn't have any beef. It was all like your names being smeared in the headlines. So a little bit about Wilt. Before joining the NBA, he played for the Harlem Globetrotters. And mind you, this is the 60s. So people kind of saw it like a minstrel show back then, especially Bill Russell. Yeah. Bill Russell said he would never play for the Harlem Globetrotters.
So I don't know if anybody's ever seen a Harlem Globetrotter game. Like, if you're not a kid watching that shit, sometimes you be like, God, dog, bro, I wish somebody would just shoot the fucking ball. Like, it's a lot of, like, You be looking at the shot clock and shit like, damn, bro, like, motherfuckers be doing the most.
Oh
like,
my God, I'm cracking up.
So Bill Russell was a no bullshit kind of dude. He like, I don't want to fucking play with these fucking clowns out here. Like,
he literally thought they were clowns. Oh my God. But nevertheless, you know, they had this NBA Clash of the Titans. Bill respected Will as a player, and they ended up selling a lot of games, selling a lot of tickets. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I can't believe back in the day the NBA was like, ugh, we can't have black people in the NBA. People will never. Tripping. They thought people would never watch the games.
You gotta be stupid. Like I know y'all seen all them brothers at the courts with no experience, just through the legs, dunking. You feel me?
They wasn't even going in our neighborhoods.
They was driving past them like, oh, look at those monkeys. They don't know how to play the game.
No, that part, because I think we'll get into it. You know, like Bill Russell kind of changed basketball, and his type of dynamic playing is what we know today. Before Bill Russell, it was still like just a little pass and shoot, and that's all they were doing.
Traditional basketball.
Traditional basketball, 50 style basketball. That's all they were doing. None of this like crazy, fast paced, trickery that we have today on the court. And so Bill Russell, like I said, he really was so good at it because he incorporated geometry, mathematics. Mm-hmm. And him and KC, since they studied together, they were like this. Like those two on the court were untouchable. And so at this time, we also want to give a shout out to Elgin Baylor because he was, another black player involved at this time. And they said in the documentary, quote, he was Dr. J before Dr. J.
Wow.
He was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan.
That's tough.
So he played for the Lakers. We know that this is a documentary about the Celtics dynasty mostly, but you have to think about the other black players who were like sprinkled. They were starting to come in now because Bill Russell opened that door. And he made them finally see like black players have worth. Like, we should get some more. Red Auerbach ended up getting 5. So he knew the value in black players. Yeah. And so by 1962, Russell was moving on up. He had some championships under his belt. Like I said, he just won back to back in the late 50s and the early 60s. And so I think he only lost like one championship in there. And so by 1962, he had some championships under his belt, and he decides to move to Reading, Massachusetts, where he thought he was embraced by his community. Mm-hmm. This is kind of where you get those. Bill Russell called them in the documentary phony, radical, chic racists. That's what he called them. Yeah. And so he thought that he was embraced by his community, but he tried to buy a house in town, and they literally petitioned against him to buy a house in this town. So I thought these were my neighbors. I thought these were my friends.
So like, I feel like when he first got there, it was pushed back because like, whoa, what is this black family like doing in our neighborhood? And then people start whispering like, oh no, that guy averages a triple-double every week or every day.
Yeah. Oh, but you want to buy a house? That's too much. That's taking too far.
So now we love him. Yeah, we love him. Yeah. But, you're buying a house in the nicer side of town now?
No. Nah. That's not happening. No.
We don't think so.
I was flabbergasted. They literally like, imagine somebody put a change.org like, Brother Ash cannot move into this neighborhood.
Racism is so fucking stupid. Like, you cannot
it is.
You cannot be an intellectual and be a racist.
You can't.
You just can't.
And I literally wrote in my notes, he's just trying to raise his 3 kids, damn it.
Literally.
He has 3 kids at this point. He's trying to find a home for them. And like Brother Ash said, the daughter was in the documentary and she talked about how hard it was on her family. And so by 1963, he's risen in fame and he uses his platform to amplify the civil rights movement. So this is where we really get into the nitty gritty. Because now, this stuff has been burned inside him. He wants to speak on it, but he's just trying to find his place in the NBA. And now that he has some clout, he's about to use every ounce of it. And I love that. It's not shut up and dribble over here, boo-boo. He was not shutting up. No. And so Russell even leads a march from Roxbury, which was a black neighborhood in Boston. And that just goes to show, like, you're, like Josh said, averaging triple-doubles last week, and now you're in the streets marching with us this week. Like, he was so humble, he was so down to earth, and all he really cared about was his community. And so that was literally my next bullet point. He was so humble. He even declined to go on stage during the March on Washington because the other civil rights leaders were like, yeah, Russell, you're one of us. Get up here. Yeah. He was like, no, I don't want to steal the shine from MLK. Word. Like, are you kidding me?
But nah, that's so, I respect that because this whole thing was like, I didn't put in the work. He said they like the March on Washington wasn't like a summer event.
Yeah,
like they had planned that for a very long time, and Bill Russell had known, but was contributing from a point where he was like, this is their moment. Yeah, you feel me? Like if I go up there, they're gonna start talking about the game last night. But like, if you know what I'm saying, so like
he didn't want to steal the shine from the most important people who really put in the work.
Nah,
and so at this point, he's just trying to get his hands dirty in the movement. He's just trying to do what he can. So Russell also helps run basketball clinics in Mississippi, 1960s Mississippi. He decided to take his talents down there and just see how many kids he could help. And people warned him, like, don't do this, man. It's a bad place right now.
Yeah.
And he still went. So I really respect that. And so by 1963... the Celtics also, sorry to steal the light from Bill Russell, but the Celtics also had a pretty good white guy at this time, Bob Cousy. Him and Russell, worked hand in hand. They had a great relationship. So in 1963, Cousy, he's about to retire. And, Bill began to question if basketball even mattered at this point because he was so focused on civil rights. Yeah. And so now you're kind of split brain. You're like, okay, on the one hand, I'm doing this job. It's just a job. I'm dribbling a ball for money. But on the other hand, look how they treat my people on the outside. Yeah. And so he said, quote, I'm in the same search as all Negro men at this point for my manhood. So that was really deep. And in the 1963 to 1964 season, Russell, that was one of his best seasons in his career. And by 1964, they were starting 5 black guys in the championship. This is what I'm saying. Like, they're adding more people. The league is, getting a little bit more diverse thanks to the floodgates being open on the Celtics.
What do you know?
Yeah. Imagine black people leading.
Unstoppable team. They're the only team with 5 brothers starting.
They was on to something for real.
Gee.
And people wonder, how can we win 13 championships?
Now don't get it fucked up.
11, sorry.
It's some white boys out there, it's some Asians out there, it's some Latino brothers out there and sisters that can cook. Why did it take y'all so long?
Because, like you said, they really didn't care about us until they saw dollar signs. They really didn't think that... I'm sure they knew that black people could play basketball, but they didn't know that they could even... They didn't even know to go outside the rules of basketball and switch up your game and add in fast-paced,
Some of the things that... Because you see it kind of...
They weren't even doing layups.
You see it evolve more and more, as time goes on. We witnessed Kobe and LeBron, but years from now, there will be another athlete that is even, finding some type of way to wow people like we've never seen before, right? But even just the way Bill Russell thought, like, it wasn't just sheer athletic ability. Yeah. He truly viewed the game as an artist. Like,
yeah. That photographic memory.
Time and time again, just picturing the same plays. All of the still things we see in the NBA today. I'm not going to dive too into the, into the techniques and all of that stuff. But I'm just like, wow, like y'all denied this greatness for so long because you were afraid.
And imagine how much more.
Or just because you didn't like us. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
It really is crazy to me because racism literally just comes down to the color of my skin. And that's so dumb to me. But imagine also... He won 11 championships under that pressure. Imagine if he had the pressure of racism lifted off. Like you said, maybe he could have went for 20 seasons like LeBron.
And then it raises the question, would the edge still be there? Because I bet you it
are you saying he had to kind of fight harder for it?
Nah, I'm just saying, like, when you know that this guy standing in front of you could call you a boy or tell you to go sit in the back of the bus or step in your shoes and laugh, and the powers that be would take his side any other time, but on this hardwood floor, you're going to dominate. Because if I dunk on you tonight, everybody's gonna cheer.
Yeah.
Once we leave here, I can't get this off on you.
That's true.
So I feel like a lot of athletes back then in the day used their platforms to not only elevate our people, but to take out some frustration. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. They said in the documentary that he was strategic about his shit talking.
You gonna feel this.
Yeah.
You gonna feel this. Like,